It's going to be informative. It's going to add up to your knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is life. Knowledge shows you the way out. Knowledge makes you to be enlightened, makes you to be upgraded. Knowledge gives you insight into the future. If you don't have knowledge of things, you may be destroyed. The Bible says in the book of Hosea chapter 4 verse 6, it said, my people are destroyed due to what? Lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge is ignorance. When you are not informed, you are dead. You need knowledge to grow. Today in this episode, we are here to inform you. We are here to increase your knowledge on things you know and things you don't know. To be able to teach people around you and also pass the information around you today. In this episode of you and your family, you won't regret being part of it. Stay put. Invite others to be part of it and be blessed. Thank you. Welcome back to this wonderful episode of our program, You and Your Family. Remember, I remain your uncle, evangelist, Mrs. Faith Okafor, always having me in this program. Today we are having a wonderful topic that is filled with information which you need or someone around you may need for survival or for a peaceful life. Today's topic is going to be on domestic violence, and the topic we'll be treating today is isolation as the bedrock of domestic violence. Isolation as the bedrock of domestic violence. Sometimes we'll call it domestic abuse or domestic violence. The bedrock which most other forms of domestic violence lie on is isolation. I want to talk about it today. I'm going to discuss about it today so that we understand how this starts. So that if you are already walking into being a victim, you will know and be able to guide yourself or guide somebody around you, maybe a loved one around you, not to enter into the real abuse. What is domestic violence? Domestic violence is actually violence that is being done in the home. Yes. Most time when we hear about domestic violence, the first thing that comes to our mind is the physical abuse, the physical violence, beating, slapping, hitting. That is the only thing that comes to our mind. But it's far, far beyond that. It's very vast and big. It's much that most people undergo this violence. Some people who are crying and shouting about people who are undergoing physical violence that are part of it as a type of domestic violence are already undergoing other type without knowing it. And that is why we come to bring this to the notice of all of us, to the notice of the masses and people who are ignorant of it, so that we will know, prepare our mind towards it, so that we'll see this form of the violence, we'll be able to understand and know that something wrong is about to happen. But today, in what violence, domestic violence is, and by our own definition we'll say, is any form of behavior with the purpose of exerting control over a victim or someone is called domestic violence. Any form of behavior, any form of acts with the purpose of exerting power and control over one person or the other, or any whom we can call a victim, someone who received the effect of the control and power because such person is. So anyone who is trying to exert power or control over anyone around him, or especially a friend, a spouse, a partner, a member of a family, is exhibiting domestic violence. We can also call it abuse because it is using wrongly a right, against someone who is of the minor. Sometimes we talk about this domestic violence, we only look at the husband area. This is, everyone can be a victim of domestic violence. The husband can be a victim, a wife can abuse a husband, but majorly the man abuses the woman mostly, and even the children. And children can also be victim of this violence. They can be victim of this abuse. A lot of people are being violated of their rights. Their rights are being taken away from them because of ignorance. That's why I said information is power, knowledge is power. When you have knowledge of some things, you can be able to help yourself out, even without somebody helping you. And here today, we are talking about this domestic violence. And today, we're going to be dwelling on isolation. What is actually this isolation we are talking about? Isolation is trying to cut you off from the rights or from people that you need in your life, cutting you off from your loved ones, making you to be alone, even in the midst of plenty people. In this isolation today that we're talking about being the bedrock of domestic violence, we have discovered that before any form of domestic violence occurs, there must be what they call isolation. From the stories that we are hearing today everywhere, before anyone can succeed and be able to do it well and achieve their plans and purpose, the victim must be isolated, whether it be a child or the husband or the wife. This isolation, they have used it to cage they usually use it to cage the abuser, so that the abuser will not be able to get the right information, get the right help, will be excluded from his or her world, so that nobody will come to help him or her, or the knowledge he or she needs to help himself will not come around. Isolation. A lot of people are being isolated. It's actually the major, it plays a major role to create room for other abuse or other violence to happen in someone's life. So whenever you identify that you are being isolated from people, you are being isolated from people you are not supposed to be isolated from, know that a future abuse may be ringing bell in future. So you need to guard against it. If you're in a relationship, most time it doesn't really start in a marriage. It starts all the way from relationship, having a relationship. Maybe you are dating someone, you are in courtship for marriage, you're preparing for marriage. All this things start, but sometimes we give deaf ear to it. One of our episodes we talk about red flags in our relationship. It's one of the red flags. Isolation is one of the red flags that one needs to watch out in every relationship. Whenever you're in a relationship and your spouse wants to prevent you from relating with people, cut you off from the major people in your life to make sure you focus on him or her, it means you are being isolated, and there is something that may be bad that could happen to you in future. Whereby you have lost the people you have, you may have no one to run to. This isolation one is very, very dangerous. Is when it starts, it has two major roles it plays in the life of the abuser. Number one, it makes the abuser to be completely 100% dependent on it makes the victim to be 100% dependent on the abuser. It sees the abuser as the only one to depend on. They isolate you to make you to depend on them, so that you have no other person to depend on. So whereby you have no one to depend on, you are independent, you have no one to run to. So even if you are being killed, you remain where you are. Number two, the isolation, what it does is it makes the victim to be cut off from the connection he or she has with the world, or the people around him, with the world around him or her. When they cut you from the people around you, the loved ones, your friends, people that makes meaning to your life, people that can help you, they counsel, people who counsels you well, they cut you off from those people, you become a victim of isolation. These are the major reasons to make you not to see the world before you, to make you to be dependent on them. And when the abuser succeeds in cutting your relationship, isolating you from these people, then it will not take over your life. Isolation not just really happen. It doesn't just come up immediately and happen. People believe isolation is just that physical isolation. Isolation we are talking about here is not just to isolate you physically. Before the physical isolation happens, there are steps to it. Physical isolation is the last stage of isolation. Number one step in which the abuser uses to isolate the victim, to make sure he doesn't have access to the world around him. He makes sure he's dependent, or he or she is dependent on him or her. Number one is that they will make you to or cause problem or confusion or trouble between him and your family, or maybe between you and your family, to make sure you're not in good terms with your family. Bring about trouble. There must be a problem, maybe something that is not supposed to cause problem can become a, maybe in-laws, maybe if you're a wife and you have relative and your abuser knows that the more you relate to your people, you will get to, you may not have 100% authority to abuse you, but by the time he tries to abuse you, you tell somebody that will give you information from your family, or that will fight for you, or that may defend you. So they want to cause a problem, and you will never know what they are planning to do, because they do it in a way that it looks so subtle. They will subtly make you feel that they love you, that they should depend on you. I want to always stay around you. I don't want you to have anything to do with anybody. I want you to just, I love you so much. I want us to be together. And we don't want intruder. We don't want this. Yes. When a woman marries, Bible said, and when a man marries, Bible says, there must be a living and a cleaving. That is very, very correct. There must be a living. You must leave your friends, leave your family, leave your parents, leave everyone that has been so important to your life, to cleave to your spouse. But the living does not, Bible does not say you should erase them in your life. But an isolator, an abuser will want to cut you completely, erase those people from your life as if they no longer exist. Even when you want to relate with them, you relate with them in fear. You wouldn't want your spouse or the person who is abusing you to know that you still have something to do with them. You hide to go and see your parents. You hide to go and see your friend. You hide to go and talk to your pastor. They will even cut you off from your pastor. If they find out that this pastor is speaking sense into you, is telling you the right thing, is speaking the truth to you, both of you, you want to cut off from that pastor to go to a person that will tell them what they want to hear. They were isolated from the world around you. So whenever somebody is trying to cause problem between you, your family, between you and your family, between you and your friends, between you and your pastor, between maybe your spouse, want to really cut you off from them, so that you don't have anything to do with them. And you know this for of help to your life and your destiny and your marriage. There is something that the enemy may be stirring up in future, which you may not be aware of. Another step after trying to cause problem between you and people, significant figure in your life, who may be of help to you. The next thing they do is what? They try to cut you off from every relationship, maybe from your friends, people around you, maybe from the groups you belong to, from your community. The community you already belong to, they want to cut you off from them and tell you, don't join this group, don't this group, don't join, I don't like this group, they want to make sure you don't belong to anywhere. You may not like it, but they may be doing it. And because of the fear, you want to maintain a peaceful, you want to be submissive, especially on the areas of wife. They want to be submissive, they want to do what their husband said. Let's say, wives, submit to your husband, and they want to submit without knowing the red flag hanging on their marriage door. They will cut off completely. Someone, they will tell you to delete all your contacts that you ever had before marrying them. Why would a man tell you to delete all your contacts? Some people do it out of ignorance, not really because they want to abuse you, not because they feel your relationship is too much, maybe they cannot be able to control you, maybe they feel they're jealous that you have plenty friends. Most men do that. They feel that you have plenty friends, maybe plenty male friends. I'm actually, I'll not be contending with these people. Sometimes when they feel inferior and they feel that people you had before coming to them are more superior, and then they may take you away, or maybe jealousy. Jealousy can stir up so many things. Delete all your contacts. I want to have fresh contacts. And when somebody is telling you delete your contact, let the person also delete his own contact. I don't forget me. It may sound normal. I don't forget me. But someone who has a ulterior motive can use that to cut you off from your community, from the friends you already have, the existing community that can help your life. It is not wrong when your husband discovers that there is a group you belong to that may not help your marriage. It is not wrong for him to suggest that this group, with ideas, with telling you the reasons why you should do that. It's not by commanding you to leave the group, but telling you reasons and making you to understand and see reason to it for you to end that's come out from that group and join another one. But whereby a man want to make sure he zero all your community, all your relationship, it means there is something hanging somewhere that you're not aware of. We didn't say that. I'm not saying that if your husband says you should leave this group or don't relate with so person in family, don't relate with so person is trying to abuse you. But you should understand when a man wants to cut you from the 100% of your family, 100% of your friends, 100% of all the community people that you have around you, everywhere you go to before, you want to cut you off completely. He wants you to be dependent on him. He wants you not to have anything to do. Nobody should be able to come and interfere when he wants to deal with you in future. So you have to watch out for that act and know what could be the reason. Find out the reason behind him doing it. A man should not stand up and tell you, do this, do this, do this. Or a woman tell you, I don't want all this your friend, cut them off. All these people, cut them off. All these your relative. Most time when a woman wants to deal with a man, want to handle a man, he will tell you, see, I don't want to see your siblings. Or he began to accuse your siblings of wanting, you are being with these your siblings. They have never been like this before. A woman come into your life and ask, say, I don't like this your sibling, she's a thief, this one is a prostitute. And you have never seen them as prostitutes. And you began to cut them off. They want to make sure you are in enmity with all your family members, so that when they want to handle you, nobody will be there to defend you. They do that a lot. So you have to watch out for that red flag whenever your spouse or your friend or your husband to be wants you to cut out all your relationship and focus on him. Be very, very careful and watch out for the next thing that is cooking that you're not yet aware of. Another step, they want to prevent you from joining new communities or making new friends. They make sure you don't join any group. Say, I don't want clique things. So yes, sometimes I don't really believe in clique things. Join this clique. Sometimes for some reasons I know I may not join all those cliques. I'm not the clique kind of person. But it does not mean that there's no group that may be beneficial to you. There are some groups you may belong to that could be, it could be a school, it could be maybe women group where you fellowship together, where you are empowered to know what you're supposed to do as a mother, where you are empowered with knowledge. Somebody's trying to cut you off completely to be isolated in the house as just a housewife, or even from the office. Some people, when you marry them, they'll tell you you resign from where you're working so that you'll be able to give them enough time, give the children enough time, and you see that, hey, I can provide for you. Watch out to know why the man is trying to do that. Is he trying to remove the power? You know, money is power, and most men feel when a woman has money, you have power. So when they take away money from you, you have no power. Check out if that man is a just type, is a man that wants to bring you down, and make sure you know what you are agreeing with. The man should give you enough reason why he wants to stop you from the door. Remember that tomorrow when he provides only him, he may start crying aloud that you are useless to his life. So be very careful in what you are accepting, so that what you accepted will not be used to abuse you in future. When they isolate you from not to join any other community that will be of help to you, that will enlighten you, that will make you to be informed on the positive things, not the negative ones. So I won't advise you to join any. There are a lot of women groups that spoils a lot of marriages today. I won't advise you to join such groups. Some of them is online, some of them they teach you a lot of things, how to handle your husband, do this and do that, and sometimes people do it and we find out that almost everybody in that group, they are divorcees, or maybe they are single parents, or maybe they don't even have good marriages. You should avoid such group. But I'm talking about communities that will help you to grow. You want to enroll to get more certificate, your husband is telling you, no, you don't need to go, the one you have is enough, because of the fear of you going to be enlightened, to grow more. They want to cut you off from every community. They want to streamline everything you are doing. When they cut you off from joining new communities, you find out that something is going, it's a gradual process. The next step again they take is to cause the victim not to have a life. How? If you're working, they stop you from working, or they ask you not to even get a job, or they prevent you from any opportunities that will give you money into your pocket. Or sometimes when you even get the money, they will make sure they collect to the last dime in your hand, to make sure they are the one controlling your finances, which is not correct. Even if you have a joint account with your wife, your wife should be free. Even if you want to give it to, let it be that she's the one that is, and not you, demanding that it must be done like that. Sometimes when they take hold of all your finances, they control your yes and your no. And when they want to abuse you, you have no say. You cannot say a word because your money is in their hand. Anything they want to buy, or when you have the money, they want to control how you spend the money. The Bible said, Amos 3:3, that two cannot work together except they agree. There should not be coercion by commanding, intimidation in relationship or marital relationship or family relationship. Even father should not intimidate the children. Mother should not intimidate the children in the family relationship. Friend should not intimidate another friend. When I was in secondary school, I think that should be my JS, doing JS 3, JS 4 in my village. And I did my secondary school in my village, in the neighboring community. I was in my village, but I did it in the neighboring community secondary school. And that period, what was winning in that area was this issue of mafias, this cultism of a team. We don't even know about it then. What we know is that there are some group of guys who grew up to be tout, and they call them mafias. They can use they can use, those days they don't really use gun. They use machetes, axe, they use some of these weapons. If you do, they will break your head. They use machetes, knife, sharp objects. Most of them doesn't really use gun. They use it to threaten people. The ones who are upgraded, they use gun to go and steal in people's houses. But the mafias we see on the road, those bad boys, they smoke, they behave anyhow, they are out. And when you see them, you are always scared of them. When they see a fine girl, they always stop you. They want to use coercion to force you to become their girlfriend. And sorry for those who doesn't know Christ. Sometimes when they use those force on them, and those who doesn't know their place in God, sometimes when they use those coercion on them, they go for it, they succumb to it. And when a man uses coercion to get you, or intimidation of any form to get you to himself as a friend or as a wife to be, he will continue to use intimidation and coercion to keep you as a wife. Some of them, they threaten them, if you leave me, when they discover who they are, if you leave me, I'll kill you. If you leave me, I'll destroy your homes. And because they know who they are, they don't want to leave. There are a lot of girls those days were victim of those boys. They will come to you and say, will you accept or not? If you don't want to accept, I'll rape you. Sometimes they will arrange and come and rape some girls who refuse to be their girlfriends. Even while I was in the university days, they will come to your lodge where some boys we know that were escorts, who were cultists, who they were escorted from school. They're dismissed from the university. They hang around the university environment. Sometimes they sneak around. They come to your lodge. If they find out that you are this type of UBUB girls who want to show off, they come to you. They'll be taxing you every day. I need this money. I need that money. And if you don't want, I will kill you. So some of these girls find themselves under the bondage. If you report to police, I kill you. So you see them following these people. They are going out with them not because they want, but because they are being intimidated. Some people are being intimidated in this form. Sometimes inside this kind of relationship, they force them to even marry them. And they marry them. So they remain in this violence or intimidation throughout their life in that marriage. You see them, they'll be smiling in public, but you don't know what they are passing through. So they end their life, they don't allow them to have their source of income. They control, even when they have source of income, they control the income because they want to have control. They want to exert control and power over their victim. Then the last step of this isolation we are talking about here is the physical one you are conversant with. They isolate you in the house. They tell you don't go out. If you must go out, see the minutes you are going to the market to buy something, you must go out to the driver. If you are going to the market to buy something, you must go with somebody. If you are going out to buy something, you must go see the time you're going to spend in that market. I give you 20 minutes, and if you come back here later than 20 minutes, you are going to have yourself to blame. You see the woman in the market running like the husband has money, yes, but she's under physical isolation. She can't go out when she wants to go out. If she must go out, she must give account of all the places she has gone to. That is what we call physical abuse. You don't take a step out without a protection. They jealously guide you. They want to control your movement. They want to dominate you. They want to know everything about you. You're going out and coming in. If you make a call, they must know who is calling you. They must know who is talking to you. Any call you make, even in absence, they must go through your calls and your chats to know who you talk to. This is what they call physical isolation. Some persons, they will not allow them to even go and visit a family. Even the husband family or the husband wife's family, they will not allow such a person to visit. They isolate yourself, isolate you, isolate your children, isolate your friends, people around you, tell you who has the authority to visit you, tell you the kind of programs you watch. Sometimes they will even remove tell you that you will never be on Facebook, never you be on Instagram, because they believe going on Facebook you will meet some friends who can teach you some things you don't know, or you can get some information which can help you to become better. So they isolate. They say, women who are on Facebook, they are spoiled women, and they use this comment to convince you and isolate you. Whenever you find yourself being isolated, you can be domestically abused in other forms without anyone coming to rescue you. They make you believe that they are the only one who can fend for you. They make you believe that they are the only one who can provide for you. They make you believe that they're the only one who cares for you. So when they want to deal with you, you are at their mercy. If they kill you, you leave. If they leave you, you live the way they want you to live. You don't have say of your own because you are isolated. When people are isolated, they can destroy their future. Other forms of abuse start off from isolation. When children are being abused sexually, it starts from isolation. Before an abuser will abuse a child, he will first of all try to isolate that child from every person who loves that child. You want to show that child extraordinary care. You want to always be with that child. You want the child to be with him or her. You want the child to always to feel that he or she is the only one that cares so much about him. Buy some little things that you as a parent you may not want to buy. Yes. There are some parents that want to give their children chewing-gum at a very tender age. When they discover you don't give your children chewing-gum, they will buy those chewing-gum and give your children to attract them. They give them what they cannot give them as a parent or as a loved one. They make sure they go extra mile. Sometimes ignorantly parents sees them as nice people, and sometimes they leave the children for them. And when they finally isolate the heart of these children towards themselves and make the children to be dependent on them, they can begin to molest these children. And these children, because they have already trusted them, they are already dependent on them, they cannot say anything to you. They are afraid. They will scare them. They will use every means to scare them because they have finally been able to isolate them to themselves. Then they can now abuse them, whether sexually or anyhow. Some people who carry children to stay with them from their parents, so when they want to make sure they maltreat or harshly harm those children, they isolate them from their parents. They cut off every relationship or any phone calls, any form of phone call they can have with their parents. Whenever your child is away from you and you cannot make call directly to your child, is a problem. They cannot give your child phone, talk to me, and your child cannot express his or herself even when you are not there. That child has been isolated already. Whenever you give your child to a relative or whatever, and you don't have a direct talk with your child cannot call you to tell mommy, see, it is a problem already. Whenever a child is isolated, a child can be abused in a way you cannot imagine it. Isolation is the bedrock or the major factor to other domestic violence or abuse which people encounter every day. No abuse will happen if there is no isolation. Sometimes this isolation, they do it by threatening the family of the girl. Don't come close. If you come close, I'll kill you, I'll destroy you. And when they isolate them from their family, isolate their family from them, they cannot have their way to do with them as they like. Some they even isolate them from their neighbors. That is why you see some men beating their wives or their girlfriend in front of their neighbors, and their neighbors cannot come close because they have tried to come close and they turn the wall against them. In order to be safe from the abuser, they stay clear from any abuse. Some people who even video some abusive actions that men or women have on their wife or other children or other people, they had to hide to video what they saw to be able to make it viral so that they will not be suspected, because they have considered, finally isolated those ones. When a man makes you dependent on him for everything, or a woman makes you dependent on her for everything, or anybody makes you dependent on him or her for everything, it makes you to be isolated to him, and it will make you to not to have a say. Physically, you have been isolated. You may not know that, and no matter what that person does to you, you may not have the guts to go out there or to even step, especially in a relationship whereby you are working towards marriage and somebody is abusing you. Sometimes when the man has everything to give you, you feel you can't work out because you don't know whether you'll be able to get someone else who can take care of you. Isolation is a deadly weapon of the enemy to destroy some families, to destroy some people, to destroy some people's self-esteem and their self-worth. Avoid isolation and be very careful. Look out for and watch out for isolation in the life of everyone around you, both your child, your wife, your daughters, your son, anyone. Nobody will be initiated into cultism without being isolated from the right people in his or her life. They make themselves become of a greater worth to them, and they now convince them or force them to be part of them. Don't allow your child to be isolated. Anytime your child becomes isolated, personal isolation, there is something deadly that is about to happen to that child. Sometimes people don't commit suicide if they are not isolated. They will first of all be isolated before they take the action. There's a deadly action that is about to erupt, which you need to hinder. As you've heard this today, I believe somebody has learned a lot, and I want to help somebody around you, and help your children, help your loved ones around, to not to be isolated, so that they will not be victim of other domestic abuse or violence. I pray violence will not be mentioned in our homes, it's not be mentioned around us, in Jesus' name. I want to pray for as many who are undergoing violence in their home, who are already isolated. I want to pray for you wherever you are. If you are under this, if you are listening or watching this program, I pray for you. I pray that God gives you boldness. The Bible says He has given us the spirit of fear and not the spirit of fear. First, the spirit of boldness and not the spirit of fear. I pray for you wherever you are, being a victim of this of isolation, that God will give you a way out. Let Jehovah show you a way out. Let Jehovah help you out of that situation today. And I pray, let the abuser be exposed and let your life be vindicated. In the name of Jesus Christ, any child that has been isolated to destruction, any girl that has been isolated to destruction, any woman, any man that has been isolated to destruction, Lord, today, expose the plans of the enemy over their lives and set them free forever. In Jesus' name we have prayed. I believe somebody has been set free from this word, from this prayer, and from this information. I pray you go out there, spread this good news to people, and their life will never remain the same. Thank you for watching us, on you and your family. And I remain your uncle, Evangelist Mrs. Faith Okafor. As you keep watching, the Lord will keep blessing you. Make sure you watch, you follow us on our handles that is displayed on the screen, on our Facebook handle, on our YouTube handle, and Instagram, and on our pages, and you'll be getting notification of our programs. Join us same time next week as we continue on this episode, and the Lord will bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.